starting. Hang on.
Oh, that's right. I'll
think-
stop talking. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it later. Yep.
Okay. All right. We are live and broadcasting to the multiverse.
Alrighty.
Well, maybe not the multiverse. Maybe just like Earth. Welcome everybody to episode 206 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We're your host, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson, and the playoffs have arrived.
They are. How are you today, Ed?
I'm great. That play-in tournament was very quick. It was a couple of days, and then bang, the playoffs are here.
Blinked and you missed it.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty predictable. I mean, the zombie heat wasn't predicted. First time a 10th seeds got in, but so I think most of the other results are pretty much standard, and can't see it going any other way. So,
yeah.
But yeah, the actual playoffs started today.
I think we should say hello to our listeners.
Yeah, everybody will live around around the world on YouTube. Hello to everybody listening on.
In Philippines, we've had a lot of new listeners come across from Philippines recently.
Yeah.
USA, Canada, Germany.
Yep. Oh, and our friends at Central Coast Radio. Don't forget our listeners there. People are in the States. We try and talk a bit slower every now and then so the people in the US can understand us.
Don't we speak
No, we
slow
speak
for
quick.
Americans?
We speak way quicker than people in the US.
Is that true?
I feel like that anyway.
Okay. I'm not too sure Ryan would agree with me on that. He's always saying to me I speak so slowly.
Really? Okay. Well, next time we got Ryan, and we'll have to ask him about that one. I'm curious. I thought we spoke
thinks
faster.
I'm just slow in general, to be honest.
Yeah, that might have actually just been a personal dig at you.
Anyway. All right, let's talk about Bucks Pacers. What do you reckon?
Bucks Pacers, good place to start. Let's do it.
Let's start with the Kyle Kuzma box score. 22 minutes, 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks. Ultimate win on this trade, giving up Chris Middleton for someone that they thought was going to be a little bit younger and maybe a tad more athletic.
It's a best of 7 series. Then maybe he'll score in another game. Maybe he'll get a stat.
Time in playoff history, a player has played 20 minutes and recorded 0 points, rebounds, assists, steals, or blocks. It's quite an achievement, really, isn't it?
It's pretty good. And given the pedigree he's come from in Washington, he was the right man for the job to get bad stats.
You just can't wash that stink off fast enough, can you?
Pretty much.
All right, card ladder, Kyle Kuzma. We spoke about him a couple of weeks ago, so this is going to be an interesting one.
I was going to say, is he even on card ladder?
Yeah, I mean, at the time when he was drafted, he was a big thing.
Fair, yeah.
So April 13th, he was $13, and then he shot all the way up to $21.50. So not quite 100% increase, but a significant rise. I'm not too sure what the next comp after that's going to be. I do wonder if it's going to go back down to that $13 again.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not looking.
What a shame, honestly.
And
I had a lot of optimism for that. I thought there was some chance there he would come good, put into the right situation, all that type of stuff. But yeah, it's really tough. So good news for Bucks fans though is that Lillard has been cleared to come back this playoffs, which I don't really understand all of that. I suspect that he is pushing really, really hard to come back. I feel like with a younger player who wasn't at the end of their career that, wanted to win a championship, you'd be ultra conservative and he would just sit on the shelf.
Maybe they think they're in with a crack if they turn things around. I mean,
I definitely think that team thinks they're in contention. Absolutely. That's their whole...
If Lillard's healthy and Kuzma actually, I don't know, scores more than 0 and contributes something, are they a show in the East? I don't think you can write them off with Giannis on the team.
I don't think you should write them off, but I'll probably make a comment that the matchup of the Pacers for them is really bad. I think really you could almost make an argument that the Pistons would have been a better matchup for the Bucks.
Oh, I wouldn't disagree with that, yeah.
maybe even the Cavs, like being honest about it.
Mm.
I think just the way that their paces play and they really stretch people out and they're so fast, man. Like the pace that they get, that's a pun, but the speed that they get up and down the court is actually, it's quite breathtaking, really. Like
Yeah.
you just imagine the cardio on those boys, just amazing. Anyway, so look, good news for Lillard fans, good news for the Bucks fans. I think you have to be optimistic about that. Look, I've watched most of game one. I thought it was a pretty good game, to be honest. It was relatively entertaining.
Yeah.
Obi Toppin was he's the one I'm most curious about, honestly. Like when I look at the Pacers team, I would really like to see him start.
Yeah.
And or I would like to see him traded so he has the opportunity to start. I would really, really like to see that happen. So I think this is a good time for us to check out some of his card prices. He doesn't have any PSA 10s in the registry.
Okay.
Which could mean two things: that he's not properly put into the registry, or there's no silver PSA 10s. I'm not going to check the PSA numbers from the official site. I'm just looking at Card Ladder.
I'm looking at the raw numbers on Card Ladder, and well, he's definitely you pay less for Obi Toppin than you would have Kyle Kuzma. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Look, he's really up and down, but when we say up and down, he's between $1 and $3. So I think that's pretty
He's peaked
normal,
at $5, I think.
natural sort of variation. I don't think there's anything really to like worry about there if you paid $1 or $3. But look, this is a very soft recommendation, but I think he's a buy at the moment. I'm just really high on him. I think he's a really, really good athlete. And I think the thing with his game was that his skill level just had to fill out and sort of, match that athleticism and then obviously opportunity. Of course, it's the NBA, but yeah, I like him a lot. I think there's a lot to like there.
There's a lot of sales, funnily enough, in the last 3 months of his card. They're $1 and $2, but that's a lot of movement for a player that doesn't really attract a lot of value. Yeah.
I think the problem with the Pacers is that they're a pretty deep card, aren't they? Like they're a true league pass team.
They are. Yeah. They're not going to get a lot of coverage on Disney Plus, that's for sure.
On ESPN and all the rest of it, yeah. But anyway. It's final thoughts on Pacers Bucks. Who do you think is going to get up and win that series?
Part of me thought this year was going to be a Bucks revenge tour, but I think the only thing the Bucks are going to get out of this is some terrible box scores, and it'd be nice if Kuzma could actually get on the board stats wise. That's about it.
Yep. Do you think we should talk about Giannis prices before we move on, just really quickly?
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe this year yeah, Giannis might be worth a revisit, given like he's the big.
I'll make this quick.
Yeah,
really quick. Silver PSA 10 rookie card, population 86. Looking at the last 12 months, I think for me this is the most relevant stat at this point in time. He's down 30%. At the start of the year, he was 8,600. His last sale was 5,900. Let's call it 6,000. If you go back 2 years, though, he is down a lot. He's down 55%. The highest sale that is documented on that is 13.6 and 13.3. So he's actually down a lot. So this is actually more interesting than what I was anticipating. So, okay, I'm going to put this into an absolute wait and see. So this was trading at 42,000, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say when that traded at 42,000, but that was quite high.
It's in a holding pattern this year. I feel like the Bucks have been off the radar this year, but yeah, that all-time data where through 2020 to 2022, where as you said 40K.
Let's block that out though, and sort of like, so where I'm leading with this, so I feel like this is an all-time hold card, very similar to what Jokic is. I think you buy that now, you put it away, and in 10 years you get it back out again. So for me, looking at the data from the last 2 years, I say wait another 12 months, then look to see what you should do with this purchase. Like for me, this is very much a wait and see thing, but this is really appealing now because I would put this type of card into the position of this is just too expensive. I don't want to spend that much coin on that particular card. But if I'm waiting another 12 months and it keeps trending down, like that completely changes the equation.
All right, so yeah. I'll just quickly ask the question.
I still like Jokic more.
Okay, 5,009. So we'll say $6,000, right?
Yep.
let's remove let's say this goes down another 30-ish% to the $4,000 mark. Are you tempted?
Mm-hmm. I would be directly comping it to Jokic, and Jokic I think has got a better resume at this point.
Jokic is headed
It's
up.
3,300 at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if Giannis drops below 3, are you pulling the trigger?
Yeah, that changes it again. So if Jokic is more and Giannis is less, then you'd have to really look at it then. But still, probably going full circle here, Jokic again is really tough for me to go past. However, there's double the amount of Jokics than Giannis's. 184 Jokics.
Yeah. I do like the idea that Giannis might move into buy territory based on a really bad playoff run this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the Pacers knocked them out in the first round. This is a bad year for the Bucks then.
It's a bad year for the Bucks, but I think there's a lot else going on in the hobby ad. I think that's also part of it. People sort of fall out of flavor and fall out of the spotlight and
but I feel like that compounds it. I think that the fall escalates if the Bucks are clearly out of contention. If the Cavs have taken that kind of top 4 spot away, and there's other people, there's New York, there's Boston, there's Cleveland, and they get nudged out of the top 3.
Yeah, definitely. And we're just not talking about Giannis as much anymore. We're talking about Luka again, and LeBron's back in the spotlight, and Wemby's been spoken about a lot lately. So
could be a window closing, could be opportunity knocking. Who knows? Cool.
All right, this is directly from Shine's Instagram. I think you have to watch this. Now, this is actually a little bit, I wouldn't say hard to find, but it's not instantly obvious. So go back 1 week in terms of his posting history. You'll see a 2003 PSA 10 Upper Deck Exquisite Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
If you click on the arrows in going onto the arrow to the next picture, it'll actually take you to a video of him cracking it. It was slabbed in a BGS slab, and he literally took a kitchen knife to it, smashed the top of it, and then just took it out. Like, the balls on this guy.
I'm laughing because normally, obviously, in Australia, the term cracking it is associated with having a temper tantrum, but
he's literally cracking hands, the slab. So I'll give him that.
All right, I'm hitting the slide button on Instagram.
It's unbelievable. He literally just takes the knife to it, and
wow.
Anyway,
I'm playing this on. I'm playing the video.
The testicular fortitude on this lad.
He's got the giant knife. It's not like a little knife. This is a big knife.
So our friends at GTI put a lot of videos up about taking cards out of slabs, and they use pliers, and they've got this special tool to cut them out.
Wow. That's literally cracking a slab, all right? He's just cracked it on the top.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? I feel like GTI are very particular about it. It seems to me like they've got a very set formula and they take it out all carefely. That to me was just...
That wasn't careful at all. So, he actually cracked it with the big knife and it put a split down the BGS slab. That's, yeah, you're right. I think ballsy is the right term.
Alrighty. Next one on the list. This is very self-indulgent, this next one, and I wanted to talk about this, so I've done a little bit of research here, so just hear me out. David Griffin was fired by the Pelicans, and then almost instantly there was rumors about Joe Dumars joining the Pelicans, and then literally a day after that it was announced he's been signed. So I think there's a little bit of history here in terms of Joe Dumars. He is from New Orleans, or from the South, so he's going home. I think that's important for somebody.
Big narrative.
I think also too we have to remember that he was the architect of that Pistons team that won the championship, that built and then beat that really powerful Los Angeles Lakers team. Yes, it was an old LA team, but it had Kobe, it had Shaq, it had Karl Malone, it had Gary Payton.
Yeah.
Like, that was a really, good team.
That was built to win a championship. Yeah.
That Pistons team beat them.
It was built to win Malone a championship.
Yeah, that's right. Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Tayshaun Prince, Rasheed Wallace was picked up, and he was just amazing. I used to love Rasheed Wallace. Ben Wallace. I mean, obviously his draft pick of Darko Milicic has probably gone down in infamy, and then after the team did get older, I don't think he did a very good job at retooling the Pistons. I think that's very fair to say that, but you can't take away from him what he did for that Pistons team. So I think, big get there for the Pelicans. I do think that David Griffin probably had a little bit of bad luck in his tenure there. Like, he had a lot of problems with injury this year.
Yeah, injuries seem to be the bane of their existence in most of the time in New Orleans. We're talking, New Orleans is probably cursed as far as injuries go. You think about Anthony Davis, career has been riddled with injury. Zion has been a huge injury cloud.
So that was one of the first things that he did when he went there, was actually traded Anthony Davis away. And I think that wasn't so much of his own choice. It was more about
the time had come.
He was given the instruction from Anthony Davis's agent on that. So I put together a small list of his six most important moves that he did while he was at the Pelicans. I left off Anthony Davis because my feeling was that his hand was forced.
That was sort of a forced opening move. Wasn't really his decision.
So,
fair.
Going back to 2019, he drafted Zion Williamson. If you go back and look at that draft list, even if you have the power of hindsight, I probably still think you would draft Zion Williamson today, just based on the fact of his overwhelming available talent, even though he's not always available. But you might make an argument that he could have drafted Ja Morant instead of Zion, but no one was doing that coming out of college. So I'll give him a pass on that. I'll say that move is a B. He drafted Herb Jones in the second round, which I'll give him an A, and then he signed him to a 4-year contract for $53 million. I'm going to also give that an A+. So far he's doing not too bad.
Yep.
CJ McCollum he acquired in a reasonably large trade. The Pelicans got CJ McCollum, Larry Nance, and Tony Snell. They gave up Josh Hart, Tomas Zadaransky, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. A first-round pick was protected and 2 future seconds. Again, I would give that a B+ to an A. The DeJounte Murray trade was terrible. So he gave up Larry Nance, Dyson Daniels, and 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
That is an absolute fail. Just based on Dyson Daniels alone, plus the draft equity, like, that's a lot to give up for somebody that didn't really fit that well. And then he was injured. You can't really, He drafted Trey Murphy, which I think was a good draft pick, but he then signed him to a 4-year, $112 million contract extension. I'm going to give that a C, but I'd also say that's very much pending. And I think the next move is directly related to this, is him trading away Brandon Ingram, because I think Ingram was requesting $50 million a year.
Yeah.
So essentially, instead of spending that $50 million on that, he's now put that money into Trey Murphy. And then what he got back for Ingram was Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk and a future conditional first-round pick from Indiana, which is not going to be great because the Pacers want to make the playoffs, even if it's the first round every year. That's their objective.
Do you think he moved too slow on Ingram? Should they have looked to move Ingram while he was healthy?
I think that the contract negotiations clearly went to a place that they weren't expecting, and then his hand again was forced. And whether that's his fault or it's Ingram's fault, look, I'm not too sure about that. Yeah. But I would say in the whole on that, the Raptors aren't a better team for paying Ingram $45 million a year or $40 million a year, whatever they're paying.
No. That's managing your assets,
where I'm actually
right?
Actually he's come out of it, hopefully with a first round pick. Bruce Brown, look, I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's really changing things. So what's really going to make the difference here is Trey Murphy. Like, if this kid doesn't emerge and you're paying him
big,
what, 30? Yeah, $30 million a year.
You're paying before. Overs for someone that's not.
That's going to be really bad. Yeah, and then you've left that to Joe Dumas. So, anyway, look.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah, look, I don't think he probably deserved to be fired per se, but it sounds to me like managed or ownership had enough and they wanted to change. So
yeah.
The NBA is cutthroat, man. Honestly, it's a tough league. They don't take prisoners at all.
Completely agree.
All right, let's take a break.
Yeah,
we'll come back.
We of course we've run long to start the show.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad for us. Alrighty, let's start with the hobby hangout this week. We have a small teaser / announcement that we can make. We will be officially at the Hobby Hangout XL this year.
Yes.
We'll be on the bill. We haven't confirmed all of the details to tell you exactly what it is, but what we can tell you is that something is coming. Hopefully next week we'll have more news to tell you. I can say that it is the most exciting thing I think we've ever done. I'm not too sure how you feel about it, Ad.
I think it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to add to already Goldens, which have been announced and will be coming to the podcast, they've got other international guests. We've got exclusive speakers sharing insider knowledge and tips, sports cards, basketball, NFL, MLB, soccer, massive selection of Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And more, trading zones, trading card game tournaments, amazing giveaways, interactive brand activations, casual play areas. It's this year going to be.
Well, this is a supersized hobby hangout. This
Correct.
isn't just where we used to have it. This is the Royal Exhibition Building. This is literally extra large version of what we normally do.
Yep. You took the words out of my mouth, but you said it much better than I could have. Tickets are currently, well, the first releases sold out, so now tickets have gone up to $35. If you're on their mailing list, you do get a discount still. Kids under 12 need a ticket, but it's free. Doors from 10:30 to 5:30. 400 tables are going to be set up.
That is 8 hours of show. That is a lot longer than we normally experience. Not only is the size of the show extra large, that's right, the length of the show is extra large. It's awesome.
Yeah. Alrighty. Thank you so much to Team Hobby Hangout. We can't wait to collaborate with you again. It's going to be fantastic. Alrighty, we're back. Adam, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. We've sidetracked long enough. I think it's time to talk about the playoffs, and I'm ready.
All right.
I've braced myself.
So let's start with Memphis Golden State. How does that sound?
Yeah, that was the play-in game, wasn't it?
Sure.
Yeah. That was a battle for the 7th seed.
Did you see the game? What did you think?
I did. I thought the Warriors with Jimmy Butler, I may have underestimated how good their run has been, and I haven't watched enough of them. But now that I have, it'd be interesting. Like there was obviously there's bugger all that separates that play-in tournament.
Yeah.
From someone that ends up in the 4th or 5th seed. So, yeah, I think the Warriors are still a threat, is what I came away with.
The NBA is so funny like that, isn't it? That there's 82 games that don't mean that much. And then the teams then come to play at the playoffs. Like, for example, the Warriors.
Yeah.
Like, that team is built for the playoffs. And so...
Yeah.
You know, they can, not that they didn't try during the season, but they can sort of just get through, you know, scrape themselves in and come in and turn it on for the playoffs. And then, you know, here we are. Do you think that they're a risk or a threat to win it all? So I think that's the interesting narrative here.
I think playoff Jimmy Butler is not someone to underestimate. And I don't think Steph Curry, I think he's still got a few tricks in the bag. So definitely, I don't think you can write the Warriors off at all.
And just the amount of experience that team has in terms of winning big games.
They know how to win on the biggest stage.
Yeah. All right, this is an interesting card. This is from our friends at Card Ladder. Ja Morant, BGS 9.5, gold, so number to 10, Prism rookie card. Sold for $51,000. Steph Curry, what year is this? 13-14 Prism, again gold.
It is.
BGS 9.5, sold for $48,000. Yeah. Really fantastic comparison there for so many different reasons. You've got someone who's very proven, but it's a vet card. It's also a very collectible card in a year that is very popular. I think the design is absolutely amazing. Obviously, there's no true difference to the population of these two cards, but I think from that particular year of 13-14, there was so much less Prism printed. So I'm going with the Steph Curry on this one. I think I'm at that point now where Steph has done so much on his resume. It's really hard to go past almost anything that he's putting forward at this point.
I'm going to be bullish on Ja. I still think the Ja Resurrection Tour. He's got room to grow. Would be my thing. There's no autograph on the Steph. It's BGS versus BGS. The big differentiator here for me is that rookie shield. So I'm going to bank on Ja Morant being around and building a bigger resume over the years. And while I'm not discrediting Steph, it's not an auto, it's not a patch, it's just a gold 10. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Jar rookie.
Okay. You're not worried about him being unable to fulfill that potential?
I think someone's got a back Jar.
I mean,
I'm
I
going to
think
go
his
down
next
guns
sponsorship is going
blazing.
to come
Is that
from...
what I'm going to say? I'm going to go down guns blazing on this one.
Well,
Yeah.
I was actually going to say, I think his next sponsorship is going to come from a military supplies company. So now he's
Or
celebration
Nerf.
throwing
If
bombs.
I was Nerf, I would be sponsoring that man. Can you imagine getting him on Nerf commercials shooting like Nerf guns? It'd be perfect.
I get the feeling he would get into trouble for that.
I know, but come on, the NBA's got to have a sense of humor. It'd be great, especially it's kids' toys.
I'm not sure how I feel about this. All right. What have we got next? Oh, this is very random, but I have to talk about this with you. This is from Market Movers. So this is a highlighted card that they've put forward. It's a Pokemon card.
Oh.
This is not something that we normally would talk about, but I felt I had to put this in because the population on this is 36,000, nearly 37,000. And I think for context on this, let's just do a direct comp on this back to Wemby, because I'm pretty curious to see where Wemby's at this point in time. He has to be close to that. What's the total population on a silver?
Wow.
It's got to be close. All right. It's actually not that many, is it? It's only 7,000.
What's that? The Wemby?
On the silver PSA 10 rookie.
Yeah.
The total population. So that's, all of the 9s, the 10s, the da-da-da-da-da. There's so few BGS cards. There's 5 10 black labels. There's 17 10s. 129 9.5s. Comparing that to PSA, 4,400 10s.
Okay.
2,000 9s. 235 8s.
36,000 of this Pikachu.
Yeah, so where I'm going with this, though, is that there's still some value to that card. So it's currently trading at $800. I mean, Pokemon is going through an insane craze at the moment. So maybe this is
I feel like this is that 2022 spike.
Yeah, so maybe I'm doing a very bad comp here in that I'm comparing a card that is, very popular in NBA to something that's spiking hard through a very abnormal period of time. Like, so definitely, if people are at home, would like to message in and correct me, I'm totally down with that. But I think the point I was trying to make here is that there is an absolute load of these cards, but it's still holding value. And I think that's interesting in itself, because I would say that our general mindset around population is we're quite conservative, and that once we see population go into 4 figures of 1,000, like, that's maybe too much for us. So do we need to shift our mindset around high population on some cards for some players? So, for example, having 4,000 silver PSA 10s for Wemby is okay.
Interesting.
And it can still hold its value.
Possibly, but this is where the real supply demand side of things comes out. So if Pokemon wanes in popularity, the demand decreases, which I think in effect the supply decreases, the demand, so the price will drop. But I think there's also a wider audience for Pokemon. Obviously, we generally talk about basketball cards, so it's not something I'm overly knowledgeable with.
Yeah,
but
correct.
100%. My assumptions here would be, currently there's that heightened demand because it's in the spotlight. If Pokemon dwindles and isn't the centerpiece of TCG that it won't, like, if it ever loses that popularity, I think there's a risk with pop counts like this. Because I think there's a tank possibility in the market. Like, it drops rapidly because there is so much supply. Whereas, same as the basketball, if there's a dip in audience, in viewership, and then all of a sudden more people get into basketball, that 4,000 pop count becomes less important because we've got more viewers, and then, like, the price will go up because there's more people that want that card.
It seems to me that Pokemon is just very liquid, or
Mm.
more liquid in general than basketball, and
I, th-
so
I think it's a bigger audience for sure.
yeah, so
Most
maybe that's
definitely.
what it comes down to is there's
Yeah,
just more
you've
people
got video
trading.
games, card games, trading cards. Like you can consume and television. You can consume Pokemon in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. All right, I think we should stop talking about this before we embarrass ourselves too much more.
Definitely.
This this next one is from Market Movers again. The five biggest increases in price change percentage. Trey Young at number one at 67% up. I'm not shocked by this, just for the fact that he went
Mm.
down so much. So obviously the market is correcting itself a little bit here. It's a little bit of an obscure card for me, though. It's an optic shock. And I probably think what's more interesting to me or more relevant is his silver PSA 10. So let's really quickly touch on that. So
Okay.
it's trading at $117. Looking at the incredibly zoomed out map, it looks very flat to me. And going to the last 3 months, he's still down 16%. So there's been no true increase, I don't think, in his price. That to me is a single card. The next two is Wemby's. I think that's interesting because he's injured at the moment, and we've been talking about that. How is his injury going to be affecting his price? I was basically saying, let's wait for the price to come down and
Yeah.
then jump into the market, but we really haven't seen that. That has not been reflected as I was predicting. And this next one is the perfect slide into the next series that we can talk about. Jalen Brunson, silver PSA 10 is up 46%. So I think we have to talk about Jalen Brunson right now. And I think this is another card that I've just been so wrong about. And so we
Wow.
need to discuss that. Interestingly, the way that they measure the increase, I'm not seeing that on Card Ladder. So on Card Ladder, Jalen Brunson is down 23% over the last 6 months. The
Okay.
last 3 months, he's up 8%. And then if you zoom into the last month, he is up just 10%. So, and when I say just 10%, like that's, that's a lot and that's a really good outcome. But also maybe for better context, we need to look at the last 12 months. Yeah, so the last 12 months, he was up all the way up to $450. And now he's basically settled back to where he was. He's pretty much exactly where he was, 12 months ago.
Yeah. It's very.
So my recollection about Jalen Brunson was I was very worried about over investing into this guy,
Mhm.
and he went all the way up to 350, and now he's back down to 230. Look, I think 230 is a very fine price for this guy. I think he's got a proven track record at this point. I think he's popular with people. We've established that.
Yep.
He can stay relatively injury free under a very taxing system that Tibbs puts them through, and I think that means something.
Yeah.
And the New York people love him. So I don't really see this $230 moving too much more than this.
Yeah. You don't see it
So
dipping back below 200 like it has,
there's no reason for
but I
that to
don't
happen.
see it
Yeah,
hitting doubling
yeah.
and hitting 500 anytime soon
No,
either.
no, definitely not. Look, I
Yeah.
think if it gets to 300, you've done really, really well, but, maybe you're a little bit lucky. But honestly,
Yeah.
230, 250, I think that's totally fine on this. Population on this is 603, so significantly more than Giannis and other cards that we'll talk about earlier in the show today.
Yeah.
Again, just for that sort of context of where we're at with populations, but also much less than Wemby. A lot less than Wemby.
Agreed.
Should we talk about the Knicks series? Because I think you'll be keen to talk about Cade.
Yeah, the Knicks, the Knicks versus Pistons. I tell you what, the Knicks made. I think the Knicks pulled one out of the bag because the Pistons looked like they were gonna roll the Knicks in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
I think that'll be an interesting series, and it'll be a very interesting a solid learning lesson for the Pistons.
I think the expectation here is that the Knicks will win this series. So
Yep.
if the Pistons don't win in round one, I still think this season for them has been amazing, very successful. They've got nothing to hang their heads about.
Agreed.
There is actually a statistic saying that they're the highest single win increase in NBA history now. So That should be celebrated,
Wow.
by the way. I think this is something we should be, discussing.
I think the
I
Pistons have
actually
done
thought the
very
Pistons were
well
going to,
to get where
yeah.
they. Yeah.
I thought so. I watched this game. I thought they were going to win. That's my gut feeling. And then they just basically fell apart. And there's no other way to say it. You can say that New York came back and they hit shots and da 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 da. But I think probably the reality was
Yeah.
they stopped producing at the level that they needed to be. So if they had played one more quarter the way they'd played the first three, they would have, I think, scraped it out, to be honest. It would have
Yeah.
been closer than what they lost by.
Yeah.
Really, really good game, though. If you'd like to go back and you've only got time to watch one game or you've only got time to watch, one recap or, whatever it is, yeah, that Pistons-Knicks game was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. We have to give Cade Cunningham a little bit of shine now, don't we? And then we'll go to a break.
Let's give him his flowers.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's seen a lot in the last 6 months.
I think we're pro Cade Cunningham on this show, aren't we, Ed?
I'm very pro Cade Cunningham. I think he was written off too soon.
Far out. That got to $830 at one point.
Yep. Then back on the 8th of March, yeah. Verified sale of $830.
That is huge. Yep.
I think he's being in that $500 range. Like we can go back, we can look back at it over the all-time data. Like when he first came out in 2023, selling up in that like Christmas 2022, $490. And now it's in that 480. Well, 486 was the last sale. So, do you know what I mean? Like it has sort of gone full circle.
So if you look at the last 3 months, and if you look at sort of the mountain that's there, there's the price before that's 370.
Yeah.
And then afterwards there's 450. So I feel like in between that sort of 370 and 450, let's call it 400 to 420. I think that's a very, very good price for him.
Yeah.
I think what that spike shows up to 830 though, I think that's his future baseline.
Yeah, I like that.
So now I think he's the correct value is in that sort of $400 mark. I think that's very reasonable. If you're trading it around that, I think that's great. You've done very well.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm sort of changing my evaluation here because at the start of the year I was like, look, hold on to Cade for another 12 months. Let's talk about it in 12 months. Whereas now I'm like, we've seen what he's done this 12 months. He's well ahead of schedule. The hobby market's responded to it really well. Yeah. Yes, it's been up and down a little bit, but you should expect that as cards are going up. People will want to unload.
Oh, for sure.
I think if he has another year like this, $800 is going to be his new baseline, and then the year or two after that, we can start talking about this as $1,000 card. I'm quite bullish on Cade Cunningham and that sort of.
And I have to say,
mid to long term,
that pop count of 330,
not too bad,
is very appetizing.
Yes, right.
Think about it. Think about rookies around that era, like. Yeah, that's a sub 100%. 500 pop count on the PSA 10, and he only gems it at 18%. So it's not like there wasn't a lot of cards graded.
No, definitely. Okay, let's go to a break. Thank you so much to Game Time International for being our first international sponsor.
Woo! We're
very grateful for your support. And also our ability to work with you. It's just been absolutely fantastic. Now, the reason why we reached out to Game Time International is because they sell the best mags in the hobby. They sell magnetics that you can put penny sleeves into that also a tight-fitting penny sleeve so that the card just looks absolutely seamless in there. It then protects the surface of the card, the back surface of the card. All of the corners are obviously protected. It's in a one-touch. The other selling point for GTI is that they're a true collector's brand. So you don't have to send all of your cards off to PSA or to BGS. You can put them into a magnetic that looks really good. The other thing that I really like about the product too is the plastic is ultra clear. And to keep it without flaws, there is a overlay placed onto the card that you peel off when you purchase it.
Yeah.
It's a removable plastic film. You remove that off. As you pull it off, the plastic underneath is basically brand new and flawless.
Yeah.
Never been touched by a person. High tier consistency and also production quality. They ship worldwide. So guys, if you're looking to get some of these products, The other person you can key into too, if you'd like to get some, you don't want to buy from overseas, you would like to buy the product in Australia, reach out to our friend from the Melbourne Cartel, because I know that's how Darren introduced me to the product. He had some on hand and I bought some. They're just absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much to GTI International for your ongoing support. Adam, how you doing, buddy? We're back.
I'm good. Where are we at in the playoffs?
All right, I want to heap shit onto the Phoenix Suns right now. Let's just enjoy this for what it is.
This is a
the
playoffs episode. How are we talking about the Phoenix Suns?
Just makes me happy. This is my Schadenfreude coming out right now. They have no coach. They're not in the playoffs, and they have no first-round draft pick. The engineering and roster construction of this team has just been fantastic. So for me, this is when the coach should not be fired. This is when the general manager should be literally
walked out of town,
out on the street by security and just told to not come back.
Just driven to the border and told not to come back. Yeah.
This is an absolute joke. The other funny thing about this too, the Suns are now paying 3 head coaches at the same time. Mike Budenholzer is going to be paid $10 million a year until 2029.
I'd like that gig. I'd like to go somewhere and be told, nah, you're not doing your job, but we'll give you $10 million a year. Makes no sense.
That's such a crazy narrative, isn't it?
They should just put the call out. Who wants an income, like a big income?
Why don't they just make him do stuff like clean the toilets or
sweep the floor, sweep the court?
You know what I mean? Like, why pay someone to do nothing? That to me is
put him to work.
Be a community coach, or I don't know, do something for the city of Phoenix.
The G League coaching clinics. Yep. I'm baffled.
Anyway, congratulations, Mike. You're winning at life.
You get to join. You get to join. Monty and Frank.
Alrighty, Nuggets Clippers is the next series that we're going to have a little bit of a chew on. I'm predicting that the Nuggets are going to win here. Game 1 was an interesting game. I don't think there's that much really to break down. Actually, it was a little bit closer.
It's pretty funny. Did you hear what Russell Westbrook said? I'm just here to F things up.
I don't really pay attention to much of Westbrook.
Oh, it's so good to have Russell Westbrook in the playoffs. So good.
Were you about to say Russell Westbrook?
Russell Westbrook. No. Russell Westbrook is great to have in the playoffs just because he's going to be that outspoken, overconfident, living his best life basketballer. And he's going to try his heart out and he's going to screw a few things up and a few things are going to go his way. And he's going to put a random element into what could be a relatively boring series. Yeah.
Look, I think that's not unfair to say that, but I'd probably also say too, we shouldn't be giving that much attention to this guy. Do you know what I mean? There's other people we should be giving attention to, like
fair. Like Kawhi, a healthy Kawhi Leonard is probably a scary thing as well. Kawhi Leonard,
we could.
He's a fun guy.
Maybe give him some microphone time. So some of the NBA awards have been leaked. Zubac has been reported to be the Defensive Player of the Year. I think this is going to be the first time in podcast history that we've spoken about the pricing on Zubac. So to go back, the number of sales all time on this guy, I'm going to count this live on air. 10, 11, 12, 13 sales all time going back to 2018. The peak sale of Zubac was in 2022 at $90. It's currently trading at $15.51. I'm going to put this as an A+ purchase. I think someone like Zubac is like a good guy, a good NBA guy. Population on this is 18. Defensive Player of the Year. I'm going to guess that the next price is going to be spiked up a little bit. That's amazing. So overall, this card has gone down 34%. Let's call it 35% since it came out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not all about this. I think that should have at least held at sort of, $20 to $30 price point. Yeah. Currently trading at 15. I think that can go up to 30. The other one we have to talk about from this series is Jokic Blue PSA 9. We're talking about Schadenfreude earlier, and me sort of having a bit of a laugh at someone else. This is just like causes me absolute pain. PSA 9 last sold for 3,500. The population on this is 73. The light blue is numbered to 199. This is just well, it's not really a straight line. It's very much like an up and down line, but you could just draw a straight line from this, like from 0 to the moon.
The sad part is I remember discussing this card.
This gives me pain.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And saying that this is the one that I would go for. This is like the light blues, the 190.
Yeah, I think so too. But also, I think we also spoke about the 9, saying this is still relatively affordable.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, it was like, I could get a blue PSA 9, either in the Select or the Prism. But that light blue's like, yeah.
So I think the interesting thing for this conversation would be, is it still a buy, hold, or sell? Like, where would you place this card as a buy, hold, or sell right now, even at 3,500?
Have they leaked who's going to be the MVP?
SGA.
Oh, well, that's crap then. He should have won his 5th MVP.
Well, it's not leaked. I think they're more...
No.
like internet rumors that are, that it's been leaked. I suppose.
The people that are casting votes. My thought on this card is it's starting to push that, is it going to keep going up? I think he's priced appropriately now. I think for the PSA 9, I'd be a little bit more wary. I'm granted it is light blue, which is a color match in Nuggets fashion. Pop count of 73 at the PSA 9 though, so you need to be a little bit more wary rather than the PSA 10. This isn't the top of the top, but I think the PSA 10 would be closer to 15k now, wouldn't it? For this card.
I think I could find that for you. While I'm finding that, I think my sort of takeaway from this card is that, like, obviously it's shot up a lot.
Yeah.
So the PSA 10 has a population of 23. The 9 has a pop of 73. So that basically covers about half of the total population of that card. I do suspect, though, there'll be a little bit of crossover there. I'm sure some of those will be, and then the last sold was 9,300 on the 10. So
yeah, okay. So a $10,000 card versus a $3,500 card.
I actually still think this is a buy because I think if you compare this to, like, even if you compare this, that's probably not a good comparison, but we were talking about the Steph Curry 10 before. Like, that sold for 50k. And for this to be a rookie card of a guy who's got that many MVPs and he's got a championship, yes, we're still, we're still predicting he might win one more, which has not happened, obviously, but
yeah,
I like this card for a lot of different reasons, if that makes sense.
All right, yeah. I'll propose something now. I've looked at the pop report.
Yeah, talk to me.
Would you buy, and I'll turn this into a card versus card, the 9.5 BGS for $4,700 or the PSA 9 for the 3,500?
I think at this point in my life, I'm so biased against BGS.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I need to have a really, really good reason to purchase something in BGS.
Pop count 26 of the 9.5. Look, for I think the BGS 9.5 is a good buy because of the pop count. It's 26. I'm looking at the pop report. Obviously, some have been crossed over and things, but it's 26 9.5. So I wonder if a bunch of people crossed those over, and that's how we ended up with the 9s. The 9s are at 73. So
I think this data won't be perfect.
No.
Because for people to clean that data up, they need to crack them and then send the data off the graded card into the companies, and they take it out of the registry. So I don't believe that that's happened 100% of the time. I just don't believe that.
But I'm just looking at the prices. I would probably take the punt on 4,700 if I was spending that kind of money, rather than 3.5 on the 9. because the
Yeah, sure.
9.5 is closer to the 10. So I agree with
Hey,
your. I understand your stance on BGS.
yeah. Just really quick segue here while we're talking about PSA versus BGS. Da, 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 da. So this is a information update from the hobby,
Yeah.
and this is not a sponsored segment, anything like that. They have made an update to the submission process after Donald Trump had his tariff announcement and how that was going to affect cards coming into America
Yes.
from Australia.
Yes.
So basically, the workaround now is that they'll go to Canada
Okay.
for non-USA cards.
Yeah.
All US manufactured cards will be sent directly to PSA USA as normal, no extra fees apply.
Okay.
So that's the workaround.
Yeah.
USA to USA, non-USA to Canada.
And they'll just
And
work it out from there.
we were projecting on the show a couple of weeks back Japan was going to be, yeah. So I suspect Japan will happen at some point in time. But for now, quick fix.
I like it.
Alrighty, let's go to our last break, and
Yes.
then we'll come back and we'll talk some Ant versus LeBron, Murray versus Harden. I think maybe we should do Jordan EX 2000.
Cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Fast Break Trading Cards. Thank you very much for your ongoing support. Congratulations on your 1-year birthday recently. You had an amazing trade day. You're also the official partner of Fanatics and Tops, and also the official partner of Collect Fest. A naming sponsor, I believe, is the correct wording of what Fast Break Trading Cards have achieved in that space. So guys, we're very proud of you, everything that you've done. Your location is at 75 Tulip Street in Cheltenham, Friday 12 till 6, Saturday 9 till 5, Sunday 10 till 4. It is a true hobby shop for people who just want to go in, trade some cards, sell to the shop owner, buy some sealed packs, buy some sealed boxes, singles, protection. They've got it all there. And just general good banter and good advice from the lads. Head over to fastbreaktradingcards.com. They've also got a really well built out website. PSA grading, BGS grading, pre-orders, gift cards, Fanatics memorabilia, TCG, Lorcana, Pokemon, One Piece, Star Wars. They've got it all. Adam, it's the last quarter.
The last quarter. That's the point that I switched off the Lakers game.
Let's not fade hard like the Pistons did versus the Knicks. We need to finish strong.
Like the Timberwolves did against the Lakers.
That's right. Should we talk about your beloved Timberwolves?
My beloved Timberwolves? You mean my beloved Julius Randle?
Oh, sorry.
My beloved
sorry.
Julius Randle, who ruined the day for my beloved Lakers. The luckless Luka Lakers. We can,
all right,
let's move to the 6v3, the other 6v3.
You give me the breakdown of the Lakers game, because I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't watch it. I might watch the highlights, but
I watched the first quarter. I was impressed. Then by the half, I was a little bit miffed, for better use of a term. Yep. And then by the end of it, I switched it off.
So what happened? Where did they fall apart?
Fast break points, simple as that. The Timberwolves got out and ran in transition, and they killed us on the fast break. Okay. I feel like a number of adjustments need to be made, but they've exposed the Lakers' biggest weakness,
which is
transition. Really, really, really weak on the transition side. Plus, they've also got the big timber with Rudy Gobert. I thought the Lakers were going to play Gobert out of the game. Instead, Jackson Hayes was subbed out very early because he's ineffective against Gobert. So I think this is probably the Lakers' worst matchup in the playoff picture, scheme-wise. And while Ant came and did Ant things, Julius Randle really stepped up. The Timberwolves took game 1, even though Luka dropped points a go-go.
What a fun game plan for the Wolves, so literally just run them off the floor like that. Is actually genius when you lay it out as simply as you did. All right, Julius Randle, PSA 10 base. Unfortunately, I can't find the silver data on this. Population is 216. Last traded for $23. Sorry, last traded for $40. Do we need to talk about that too much more?
Not really.
Okay. And then the other one is Rudy Gobert. Have we ever spoke about Rudy Gobert's prices?
Probably not.
I'm actually surprised he has.
Is he on card ladder?
He is.
Huh.
Alrighty, silver PSA 10, Rudy Gobert rookie card. This is select, actually. I should qualify that.
Okay.
Population on this is 22. 1850 it sold for last. So would you rather this or a Zubac? I would probably go this, actually. I'd go a Gobert than a Zubac.
Ooh.
You know, he's won some defensive players.
He's won some defensive player of the year stuff.
He'll have some French collectors, you know, chasing after him.
Oh, you've got a point there on the French collectors. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, look, he's probably got a little bit more hobby presence than the likes of Zubac.
He did that COVID thing that sort of made him a bit quotable, and everyone was talking about him for a bit.
Well, or ragging on him, more to the point, for ruining the NBA. Yeah. But yeah, Gobert. Yeah, Gobert's probably the only person in the T-Wolves that you really would say any hobby value is with Anthony Edwards, wouldn't you?
Should we do an Anthony Edwards review? We didn't.
Well, we can look at Anthony Edwards. We can just do the player versus player, Ant versus LeBron, shall we?
Sure. Let's do that. Let's
straight into that, and then we
can
look at Anthony Edwards a little bit more closely. But we've got a 2020 Panini Prism Anthony Edwards Gold Prism rookie card, PSA 9. Last sold August 2024 for $54,186 versus 2008 Topps Chrome LeBron James Gold Refractor PSA 10. Last sold for $51,000. That is the horizontal card doing the powder toss within the Cleveland uniform.
Do you want to go first on this one, Ed?
I'm going to take the Bron because regardless how Anthony Edwards' career pans out, the man on the right is up in the discussion regardless if you believe he is or not as one of the greatest players of all time. And the debate will continue until I guess it's set in stone, and then the debate will continue once the stats are set in stone.
I think that particular card and that particular image though is iconic.
Yeah.
That 2008 Topps Chrome or even the 2008 Topps card is one of those cards that you should be buying when you see that at the right price, and you shouldn't be selling it. You should just be putting it away. Like there's some cards that it's fine. It'll be a liquid
it's historic.
card.
Yep.
And you can buy it and sell it. There's also some cards that you should just sort of hang on to because they're the right cards to hang on to. And I put that into that category.
Completely.
This one's really hard for me because I think that card, again, is iconic. But at the same time, in terms of spike value and picking up a card that has risk attached to it, in terms of being able to triple its value, like I think that LeBron card might go to, say, 60K. It might go to, say, 70K.
Yeah.
But that Edwards card has the potential to go to 150. The way that the market is at the moment with some of the rookie cards that are selling, there's not a lot of explanation for it sometimes other than just the market catches fire and you've got two collectors bidding each other and then, this is what happens. And so I would...
True.
So if I'm going for the gamble, I'm going for the Edwards. If I'm going just for an all-time card, I'll just go for the LeBron. Look, I think... If I have to, you're putting a gun to my head, I'm taking the LeBron just because that is such a classic card. But this is a really difficult one for me. It's actually a really great 1 versus 1.
Yeah, I do think with Edwards that he's one of those players that I feel like he's going to be the new face of the league. Like he's approaching that level. I don't know if he does that in Minnesota. I don't know if that's dependent on Minnesota, but this kid has a lot of self-belief. That's a good way to
He
put
is
it.
so full of confidence. I agree with you, but I also judge.
Can you
I
overdose
don't
on
think.
confidence?
I think he has, and I think that his off the court decision making, like that story that came out recently with his paternity testing and then paying out all of the child support in one go.
Yeah.
Like the bravado on that guy is just next level.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think, yeah, he's. Do you know what part of this is? Is we've just had basically 20 years of LeBron and Steph, who were like clean cut dudes with virtually not a piece of baggage attached to them. You can say what you want about LeBron, not everyone it's his cup of tea, but this next crop are like John Morant's throwing
Next
bombs into
level.
the crowd.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like the TikTok generation's coming through to rule the world, something like
It's
this.
pretty
Like,
scary,
and maybe
isn't it?
it's just me. I'm an old man, and I'm 40 years old, and these young kids, whatever. But there's also a part of it's like, is this what we really want? Is Anthony Edwards is going to be the face of the NBA?
Oh.
Like, really?
We'll see what
Or
happens. It's about what he does on the court.
or do we want some fat guy who's out of shape to be the face of the league?
He's already up
I
there.
mean, my preference is Luka, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually think he's a good dude, and I think Nico Harrison should be like...
I think Luka is a great face of the league, but you need that feel like you need that personality type. You need the Tatum personality type. You need the Edwards personality type. You need the Luka personality type.
Sure.
You need the mixed bag to present. Luka might take the Steph mantle of the fun player.
Yeah.
Edwards might take the Kobe mantle. We'll see what his killer instincts like in the playoffs. Who knows?
Yeah.
But or maybe that's Tatum's role. Maybe the killer becomes Tatum. That's his next step. Who knows? But they're going to take. There's going to be the fun guy, and I think Luka and Steph have that they work the crowd and they love playing the game. And you're going to have those cold-blooded killers that go out and put up stats.
That is such a good comp of Luka to Steph. Actually, when you say it like that,
the trick shots, the fun, the I just love basketball.
Is he as good as a leader as what Steph has been? Like that's the other one.
That's to be seen, right?
It's like for me, that's the really underrated part about Steph.
Yeah. I think that's a eagerly have a Luke Longley into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we've run out of time today, so let's just do this last card and then we'll tie it off. It's the 1996 EX 2000 Michael Jordan net assets. PSA 10. Population is 42 on this. This is from Card Ladder. It's one of their ladder headlines. Now, I put this into this week's show. There's been a lot of sort of old school stuff selling the last couple of weeks. We can't talk about every one, even though I find these fascinating to talk about. But for me in particular, the graphics on this is just 10 out of 10. This is an A+ card for me. I think aesthetically, it's just very pleasing.
Yeah.
The population is just delicious. And I think what's very interesting for me, though, too, is look at the all-time sales data on this. So flatlined from 2010 to 2020. And then from 2021, it's just exponentially gone up. And we've been talking about these cards in the context of what's the next card to pop off. And probably if I'd spoken about this card before, I would have said, well, we've missed the boat. It can't go up any higher. And then
you see stuff like this, yeah.
Just like Jalen Brunson or just like Nikola Jokic, and then it's got another kick still to go. So,
yeah, the market never fails.
I mean, how much more from 10,000? Can this card go up though? Like that's my real concern with this. I feel like that has to be the top, surely.
Yeah.
Look, I think the art on that is just fantastic, and maybe. So how do you equate this to today's cards? Do you sit down and look at cards that are coming out and say, this is going to be the next big thing? So for example, the manga cards that are coming out at the moment, the sales on those have been really strong, sort of that 2,000 to 5,000 USD, depending on the player. So can you correlate that to these type of sales? And you say in the future, so it's 2,000 today. God, is this going to be a $10,000 card in 20 years?
It's Very interesting. I'm. Look, if I was going to put my 2 cents out into the universe,
You better be, Adam. I'm expecting you to.
I would be looking at unique inserts
Yep.
surrounding particular players. Those particular
Hmm.
players being LeBron, Steph.
Yeah.
They're the two at the moment. LeBron, Steph. Obviously, depending how the careers of other people like Luka and Tatum and that evolve.
Or put them into the same sentence. So I think collecting inserts of those guys would be fine
Sure,
too.
but if they become that face of the league and that greatest of all time, that they end up in that era-defining role and not just another superstar, then I think it reflects. Because I think the same thing will happen with Kobe,
Mm.
and then LeBron, and then Steph. That's Mount Rushmore, though, in my eyes.
No, it makes sense. I think that's
Because
like
you're
a
not
very reasonable.
you don't have it with Magic. You don't have it with Bill Russell. You don't have it with. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
they didn't have inserts. So Jordan's the first one that had all these rarities to collect. So it's the blueprint, really.
Yep.
It's good.
I like
Very good card to finish on.
Yeah, great one.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Adam, for a fantastic show. Nothing of our work is paywalled. If you would like to thank us, please go to YouTube and subscribe. Turn on the notifications. Go to any podcast platform and set your auto download to on.
Yeah.
Go to Instagram and follow us and like our post or talk some smack back to us. Go onto our Twitter. Retweet some of our stuff. Like our posts. Please, guys, we would love your support.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who has been supporting us. We know we have very dedicated listeners out there, but we also do know, looking at some of the statistics. So, for example, on YouTube, like 95% of the people that watch our content don't subscribe.
Yeah.
So, if you're one of those 95% of people and you would like to thank us in some way, we don't, have paid content. That's really important to us. We have nothing paywalled. If you want to thank us, that is how you do it, and we would be honored if you would do that for us. So, have a wonderful evening, Adam. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful day, and we will catch you